going to do a little tutor on how to do a adventure lab. If you're new to geocaching, this may be news to you, but if you've been in geocaching for a while, you know the adventure labs are the next big thing. They're giving them out pretty regular now. I think I've got about 4 so far. But if you're doing any geocaching, they're usually going to offer you one out, and if you've done some geocaching, done some adventure labs, they're especially going to see if you're interested. But if you've got one and they've accounted you one, this is a little tutor on how to set one up. It's pretty simple. So what you basically want to do is go out and find you a spot. So in this case, we're going to do a loop around Freeman Lake in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. It's a pretty good sized little lake, and I brought my e-bike to ride around it. But this is going to be an adventure lab where you don't have to do them in sequence, in order. You have 2 choices when you go out and do these. You can do them in order. We're not going to do this one in sequence, that way you can do it in different out of order. So what you really need to start this off is you need an area that you want to do it in. You want to have it as either a public area or you have permission. And what we have here is a trailways that goes around this entire park area. So what I also have is a GPS. You can use your phone as your GPS if you want, but I like using the GPS to get each one of my spots. And you want a camera, you can use your iPhone. I brought a pretty good camera because I actually want to take some nice pictures. But you're going to need at least 1, 2, probably 2 pictures at each location. I would say get at least 4. That way if one don't come out right, you have an extra one. So we're going to show you at each point what I'm looking at and what I'm trying to put down. So stay with me and we'll get on the trail. So we're out on the main lake now, and we're going to mark several points. We may mark more points than we actually use. That way we can kind of get back and we decide which ones we use the best. So I'm going to mark, probably, since I only need 5 points for my adventure lab, I'm probably going to go ahead and mark probably 6 to 7 of them, just to make sure that I have a good spot. So this seems like a good spot. Normally you'd come in and the place we were on earlier was just a little side trail, but this is the main loop coming around, and this is kind of the end of the lake, and a little bridge here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to get the information off this sign. We want something permanent that's not going to go away. We know this sign's going to be here for a while, so we're going to get information off this sign for our questions. So, also what we're going to do is mark the location on our GPS. Go over here and hit our mark button. Go ahead and label it, and like I say, get our information. I'll take pictures here. So after getting my GPS coordinates for this post here, because this is where our answers are going to be, took my camera and I just took a nice picture out here on the lake, picture of the bridge, then also a picture for my own information of the actual information on the sign. And here's a perfect example of an extra point. I probably won't use this one, but just in case I don't find any more back in the woods, I'm going to go ahead and mark this point, because I have a bench here that's not going to move, and I'd probably use this name, who this is in honor of, on this bench as a way of verifying you've been here. But I'm going to go ahead and take this information down just as a extra point, just in case I need one and I don't have enough. So one of the points that I'm going to do on my adventure lab is the Emerald Cathedral, which is actually an amphitheater. It's built into the woods in here. They have concerts out here, and it's a real neat place in the woods. And there's a lot of information out here you could use, but I don't want people to have to dig through all this stuff, so I'm just going to basically bring everybody over to this signpost here. And I'm not sure how the point's going to work. We'll see how that works on the app, but we're going to use that mile marker of the 1.4. So what I've done here is I got a nice little spot, and I'm going to call this the peekaboo bench, and have people bring people to this location, and they'll have to identify the last name on the actual what the bench was donated by 2 people, and their last name will be what they use for the final. So it's on the back of the bench, so hopefully that'll stay put. There's some benches around this park that were actually not really affixed. These here are actually concreted in, so I feel pretty confident they're going to stay for quite a few years. So I'm up here by the dam, and what I'm going to do now is the main park is over here on the far side. I'm going to go along the park. I think I'm not going to put any points in through that. I'm going to put a point way down toward the end, and that'll probably be all the points. I have probably 7 points picked out, and I'm probably going to end up using, of course, like I say, I think I have 5 points that I can use. Pretty smooth sailing over here on the park side. It's all paved. Okay, so my last location is this silo. It used to be an old farm here years ago, and so this is kind of a neat place. Mark the silo, and I might give it a name like Silo Overlook or Silo's View or something like that. I don't know, we'll figure that out as we go. But again, I took a picture from this side over here, just as the opening picture. That way it doesn't give anything away. And then I took a picture that'll be after they've solved the puzzle, which in this case is how many holes are on the one side. I'm not going to say round holes because this one's not really round at the end, bottom here, so I'm going to say how many holes. And the answer is, of course, 4 here. So try to keep it simple on your questions and make it for something where they don't have to dig around and try to find an answer. It's just as simple. This is to take you to a neat location, answer a question, and move on. And that's what's nice about adventure labs. And you can make them complicated, but I like to keep mine relatively simple. So now we're going to go back to my house, and we're going to show you how I input all this stuff. And so I'm back in working on my computer, and what I've done is I've downloaded all the pictures that I need into a file. That way I can get to them as I'm creating the adventure lab. I've also taken my GPS and I've transcribed all the coordinates onto a piece of paper, and I've also went ahead and narrowed it down to 5. I went ahead and crossed out the bridge that we did, decided I wasn't going to do that one because these other 5 are spaced out better. So now we'll get on the actual app, and I'll show you how to get into that. So getting on my screen, this is the old dashboard. If you're on the old dashboard, you just want to go over here to the status bar of your, or view your public profiles, where you want to actually go. And the same thing is when you're actually over here on the new dashboard, you want to do your view profile. And so when you get that view profile, you want to go in and hit geocaches found, and then to get to the lab caches, you want to go down to the bottom where you found lab caches and click on that. There may be a better way to get into this, but this is the way I do it. And then if you go to your under your name, if you click on your name, you're going to go right back into your normal screen for your geocaches. But if you go to this little arrow, you click down and it says My Adventures. You want to click My Adventures, and that's where you'll see your current adventures. And if you notice at the very beginning, it said 0 credits, but I also have one that I started. I was going to make it in the square in Elizabethtown, so I'm going to alter that one to this for this new one, because I never did open that one up. So I'm going to go into this one here and rename it. So what I've done here is I've gone ahead and edited the the Adventure Lab. So here's what I did. I went into Edit, and here you add your name, what you want to call it, and you put a description of the adventure, and you might want to add more. I may add more later, but this is where I'm starting off. Excuse me. And then you change, you make your image, and you have to make this image where it's narrow at the top. So you kind of want it, whatever you're going to have is going to be in the center of this image. So I'm kind of getting the water's edge in my image. So that's why I'm using this one. And you have to get below 10, I think it's 10 megapixels or so. I believe it's, it'll tell you if your picture's too big, but you may have to trim that down. And then here's where you picked your themes. In this case, it's nature park, and it's actually a trail. You get to pick 3 of those. And then you put your coordinates of your starting. In this case, I put it in the center of the lake because that's what you're going to be doing is the entire loop. So then when you're done with that section, you want to hit your update adventure. And then it comes out like this. And it's like you see right here where it says Freeman Loop. It just has the shoreline along that because it's a narrow. And this will look different in the app as well. So you kind of want to look at both ways. So again, this is going to end up being your code to actually get into that. And what I'm going to do now is you have to add your locations. And then it asks you down here, play location in sequential order. I don't want to do that. If you wanted to click that, it would change it to that sequential order. I'm not going to. I'm going to take that back off. And then each location you can have more than 5 if you were granted one that has more than 5, but in this case, I only have 5. So you want to create each location. So hit create. You'll see create new location. So our first location is going to be the silo. So there you go. And I may give it a better name later, but for now, we'll just put that on there. And you can put a description in here about the silo, and then I'll end up doing that as well. And now you can put a link that'll go to a YouTube video if you want to put videos in here, but I'm not doing that. It's a little complicated. I've tried to do one before, but I have never had that much luck trying to do it. So anyway, on your cover image is something you don't want to give away, but you want to have something to kind of show the person where you're heading. So I go back to my pictures that I had here again, and I've got one without the holes in there because that's what you're required to figure out how many holes you got in there. So we're going to use this one right here as our cover. And so that way you can see the silo and they know they're in the right location. And then at this point you want to put in your coordinates for that location. Okay, at this point I've entered in my new coordinate for that first stage, and I want to hit the view. Make sure you get the north and your west on here. Hit view on map, and that is roughly where our location is, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. So here is where you do your geofencing, and as you can see here, it says adjust from 20 millimeters or meters to 100,000 meters. So we're going to go as low as we can on this one. Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and go out to 50 on this, 50 millimeters. And then here's where it's going to ask you the questions. And we're not going to do multiple choice. We're going to do single choice. So you go down here and put your questions in here. And I'm going to put how many holes are in the side of the silo. And then down here, location answer. So you got to put your answer in here, and in our case it's going to be 4. And then at the bottom you put your image for when they find it, and that's when we're going to use the one that actually shows the holes. See, here it is. And now we're going to give it, you can actually give it a message congratulations, which I spelled wrong. And then at this point, I'm going to leave this open because I am going to put a code in each one of these that's going to lead you to an actual physical cache. You're going to get a bonus cache with this one. So at this point, I can go ahead and create this location. This is one of the 5 locations. And like I say, you'll put a location in here. You'll put some kind of code like A equals a certain number. That way when you do your actual bonus cache, that they'll have those answers. Okay, so you can see I've created my Freeman loop. Got a description in here, and then I have each one of my locations. And like I say, you can go into each one of these and edit them as needed. I still need to add a final bonus cache into these, but this is the and then information, and then like I say, because you're the owner, you'll see the actual keywords on here, and there's things you can do in here. This venture's still turned off, so you can go in here and hit it into a test mode and send this particular thing to an individual, and they can test this out for you in the off mode. Eventually, you have these here where you can actually turn it off. Just where I say you can actually hit it in the private section right here. That way someone can go out and test it for you, or you can go ahead and put it in public. And once you do that, it goes live, and then it'll show you this barcode that you can send out to everybody to see this. So I hope that helps you with creating a adventure lab. It looks like we're going to be all doing this a lot in the future, and it's not that tough. It's actually a pretty easy format. Like I say, if you follow the steps that I laid out as far as going out, getting your coordinates, getting a few pictures at each location, you can come back and you can pretty much knock this out. So anyway, I got those pictures. I had to download them to a smaller scale. I just had to scale them down a little bit, and they did work out okay. And that's about it, and I hope this helped you out, and we'll see you again on another one of these videos.